What makes you happy?
Be yourself, be positive. Just another mindset.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the first episode of the Just Another Mindset podcast, the show that inspires you to change and live a more exciting life. My name is Ishmael, and each week I will bring to you a conversation, a topic, or a theme that will not only entertain you, but help you to get inspired and live a more meaningful and satisfying life, individually and collectively. Let us get inspired and embrace collective change for the better. Today, we want to talk about happiness and excitement. So why do we even want to talk about happiness? Well, first of all, it affects your mental and your physical health. It determines your success and your enjoyment, and it really impacts each and every moment of your life. So you want to decide to be positive and live a happy life. So what is the main takeaways of today's episode? First of all, if you live a happy life, you're very likely to live a longer life, and on top of that, you're gonna enjoy the process. In the end, you are the director of your life. Second, the human mind is very powerful, and in the end, you decide if you want to live a happy life or not. And third, you should focus on what you can control and what is already there. Everything you need in order to be happy already exists. Before jumping into the topic, I would like to credit some authors of books, articles, and podcasts that I recently encountered on the topic. When talking about happiness, the first that comes to mind is Sean Aker with his book, The Happiness Advantage. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi with his book on flow, John Maxwell with his book Failing Forward, Seneca with Letters from a Stoic, and I also want to credit a conversation on happiness from Laurie Santos and Sam Harris. So how do you define happiness? There's a lot of definitions and interpretations of happiness, and everybody has their own perspective on what it means. So I want to start with a personal example of my life, one of the most happiest moments that I encountered and that I will always remember. A few years ago, my two nephews, then 5 and 7, visited me in Frankfurt for a weekend. We went for a walk by the river, and at some point, the older one pointed his finger and got super excited and happy himself. I wasn't quite sure what he's pointing at, but he pointed at the bridge and got super excited. Well, it turned out that for him, it was the very first moment in his life that he saw a bridge that's being used for both, for pedestrians, people that cross the bridge walking, and cars and trams, people crossing the bridge in a vehicle. He had never seen that before. And he got so excited, experiencing something, realizing something for the very first time, that I could see in his eyes how happy, how excited he was. This may sound like an odd example, but it reminded me that excitement is something that makes us happy. Realizing, learning, and understanding is also something that makes us happy. Seeing things for the first time in our lives can make us happy as well. My nephew got so excited and so happy about it that I will remember this moment in my life forever. My nephew had just learned something new, and I was there to witness the moment. Happiness can be defined as the experience of positive emotions. Emotion means in motion, in movement. Being in motion creates excitement. So for me, being excited creates happiness. If I look at very happy moments in my life, oftentimes they are connected to new activities. For me, changes bring excitement, and thus happiness. Changes on commitment. I committed to leave, to change something about my job position because I was not happy about it. This change and this commitment eventually made me very happy. It's not a change without consequences, but due to the fact that I committed to it, that I took the decision myself, I'm very happy about the decision, and I realize that day by day. I'm excited to see what's happening from here. I'm excited to see if I can inspire some people to also change for the better, to do better things for themselves, but also to do better things for their communities and as a collective. To me, happiness is not a reward for an activity, but it should always be the activity itself. It can be that the physical experience doing an activity is painful, but that this very activity becomes the most exciting activity afterwards. I, for example, remember a day cycling in Taiwan a few years ago, through the rain, making a lot of altitude meters, and thinking, why would I even do that? If I think back, it was one of the happiest and most exciting days I had so far in my life. People live longer if they have strong social connections. Something I've learned recently is that talking to strangers can make you happy and can up your well-being. Just think about a conversation to your Uber driver, to your barista, to someone you don't know, to a person you met on the street or in the supermarket. Getting excited, even subconsciously, because you're learning something about a new person will help you to live a more happy life. People often ask me, how do you keep such a positive mindset about yourself and about the world? First of all, I believe in the good of humanity. I also believe in myself and my possibilities to change something. I believe in my capabilities, and I know that the harder the challenge, the greater the learning. To me, you cannot fail. You can only learn and grow to become a better human being. And one thing that certainly helps as well is direct communication with other people, but also with yourself. Be honest with yourself, be honest with other people, and be honest about the opportunities and challenges that you have. And be honest and get clarity about what you want to pursue in life. This will help you to find happiness. What I usually do when faced with a change or with a decision in my life is that I visualize the worst case scenario. Only after that, I focus 100% on the best case. That is true for the more recent decisions I took, as in leaving management consulting, as in going into a relationship, and as in starting a podcast. In the end, nobody knows if I will like the medium of a podcast, if I will like to talk into a camera in an empty room and pretend that people are listening. In the end, I don't know if people will listen and if you in fact get inspired by this podcast. But all I can do is try. The worst thing that can happen to me is that I learned a few new skills for life. I want to find out if you guys like it, and I want to find out if I like it myself. This is the best case, and this is where I put my focus now. Another important realization is that humans will get bored with even the most exciting activities over time. We should be grateful for what we have and what we do. Imagine you're a skydiving instructor. Skydiving is something super exciting for most of us. I've done it myself, and I can tell you that it challenges you, but it also excited me a lot. I will always remember that day. I can imagine that if you become an instructor and you do multiple skydives a day, it becomes less and less exciting. So even if you find something you love for your life, to do with your life, you should remind yourself to be grateful for what you have. You already have an exciting life. It depends on the perspective that you have. Focus on the good things. Focus on the things that make you happy. So how do you stay excited? Again, this is a very personal question. And for me, the answer is certainly adventures and change. Changes, for me, are an integral part of my life. Only if I grow, I can get excited. And this excitement makes me happy. I have lived in many countries, on multiple continents. This has always excited me. New countries, new cultures excite me. For traveling, but even more for living there. Understanding cultural differences of the people that I encounter and meet, but also to understand that we as humanity share basic values and common beliefs on which we can create society. I like to develop myself. I like to reflect. What is it that I like about myself? What is it that I would like to change? But just as much, I like helping other people to develop. What is it that they can change about themselves? What is it that we commonly can change for the collective. This urge for change and new adventures was one of the reasons that I initially joined management consulting. I was given a high learning curve. I could change my job every 3 to 6 months, and I had to learn and grow basically every day. In the end, this learning curve is also one of the reasons why we're sitting here today. After multiple years in management consulting, I just didn't see the learning curve as high anymore. And also I want to make sure to give something back, to apply the knowledge that I gained throughout all those different experiences and share it with you and inspire you to change something for the better as well. Usually activities excite you if they are neither too easy nor too difficult. I learned that by trying out a few new sports this year. In March, I went for windsurfing, the first time in my life. I had done windsurfing a few times, I had done wakeboarding a few times, so I knew basically how to handle a board on the water. But I had never done windsurfing. And it was exciting that it was still challenging because I didn't know how to stand up in the very first moments of this class. But after half an hour, because I knew how to deal with water, because I knew how to deal with wind, I was able to stand up and surf around for some time. This, for me, was a perfect example of choosing an activity that's not too difficult and not too easy. If you choose an activity that's too easy, you will not get excited because you will get bored within no time. If you choose an activity that's too far off and that's too difficult, you will also not get excited because you will not manage to succeed. Another example is getting back into surfing this year. This year, I spent a lot of time in countries in which you can surf. That by itself is exciting because I love the ocean, but even more, I dedicated some time and I wanted to go back into surfing after many, many years. In the beginning, it wasn't easy. It took some time for me to get the confidence again to stand on the board, to surf by myself. But by now, I'm super happy that I can say that I got back into it. I'm far away from being a good surfer. But every time I go into the water, I can grow, I can learn, and the activity excites me. It's not too easy, and it's not too difficult. There's room to develop too, and there is some basic skill that helps me to stay excited while learning. For me, it also really helps to focus on the strength that you have. You should be aware of your weaknesses, and you should not have a blind spot. But for me, it's much easier to improve and work on your strength and work with your strengths. And I really want to encourage you to take time for activities that excite you. Without exciting activities, either together with friends or by yourself, life becomes pretty boring and miserable. So really, get out and do something that excites you. Find something that excites you and do it again and again. One of the most common questions to ask is if money makes you happy. In the end, we all know the answer. No, it doesn't. But in the end, many of us still strive for more money and wealth. Why is that? Money can create a certain security that is needed so that you don't have an existential fear. You shouldn't be in a position to worry if you can pay your bills next month, if you can see your loved ones, but the security we need is very individual, and making more money does not necessarily mean that you're more happy. If I think about money and happiness, I always have to think about two groups of people that I encountered throughout my life. First of all, there's the group of investment bankers and management consultants in Frankfurt, and I'm sure it's the same in London, Paris, New York, you name it. And on the other hand, there's a group of villagers in an Indian, very rural area that have never seen a white person before. When I was working in India for an NGO doing social enterprise development, I was privileged enough to work together with people that didn't encounter Westerners too often. I remember this one day when my boss and I drove into a far-off village in order to discuss the development of a project. And when we arrived, there was a big school with roughly 200-300 children, and all of them seemed not to have encountered too many back then blonde people in their lives at all. The children and the people in general were super happy and super excited. They saw something for the very first time. They wanted to touch me, they wanted to talk to me, even though obviously we didn't speak the same language, and they just wanted to spend time. I will remember this moment in my life forever. On the other hand, you have people who work a lot, but who also make a lot. Most of the people think that if you earn a lot of money, it should make you happy. From experience, I can say that this is a false belief. Most of the people that I encountered in the circles of investment bankers and management consultants earn very decent money, earn too much money to spend it all. But very little of them are actually happy about what they do. Some people work too much, many people work with too little impact, and most people really don't enjoy on what they are doing. They enjoy the benefits, but only for a few moments. They only enjoy the paycheck the moment that it comes in, and 5 minutes later, it's already the next paycheck, the next bonus, the next big payment. I've experienced many times that the more money you make, the greater the possibility that this wealth will keep you hostage. You will be afraid to lose the lifestyle that you have. People are getting used to a comfort that they don't need, that they never wanted. But now that it's there, they are afraid to lose it. For most people in Western societies, the sunk cost bias is huge. People invest their resources, their time and their money into careers that they are told will make them happy. And eventually they arrive in those thriving careers. But many don't like them. They don't want to accept that they took a decision back then that eventually doesn't make them happy in the present moment. And in the end, the present moment is what counts. Even if your job made you happy, if you realize that it doesn't make you happy anymore, you should change. Me making a lot of money with zero excitement and zero value is the reason why we are here today. You should find something that excites you. Money will follow accordingly. So what role does the environment play for happiness? Well, funny enough, very recently, yesterday, I went through the year 2021 and looked at the highlights and learnings that I had. I set new goals and I decided what I would like to start, what I would like to continue, and what I would like to stop. For me, almost all the highlights of the year are connected to people. Almost all the activities that I will remember as something great happen together with people. I'm a person that values relationships and that values other people. But in the end, I think a lot of us work like that. There's only a very few highlights. For example, a half marathon in Fuerteventura that I did by myself. Most of the activities, flying to Fuerteventura with friends and living there for a few months, traveling and experiencing new countries together with my girlfriend, and doing a vacation on the other side of the world together with my family, count amongst my highlights of this year. Most of the highlights of my year are highlights because I experienced them together with someone else. For me, it's very important to share excitement and to share happiness with other people. Take the example of buying something. How exciting is it to buy something for yourself? Be honest. How long does it keep you excited? Usually only until you actually bought it. To look forward might be exciting. Once you have it, usually it's not anymore. And now, imagine that you buy something for somebody else. This could be a friend, a person in need. This, for most of us, is more exciting than buying for ourselves. I want to constantly surround myself with people that not only lift me up, but that also encourage me to do better things. And I want to grow together with my network, together with my friends, and together with my family. Growth excites me, and growth excites us. Growth is the foundation for good friendships, and good friendships and families are the foundation for happiness in an exciting life. I therefore try to be very honest with myself about my friendships and how much excitement those friendships create. I want to spend more time with people that I like and less with people that I don't like. One of the things that I really look forward to for next year is a celebration with most of my friends. I wanted to celebrate a birthday almost 2 years ago, and due to the whole pandemic, it didn't happen. I organized and planned a celebration of friends for almost 50 people, and yet it didn't happen due to the pandemic. We had to postpone it by a year, and yet again, it didn't happen. I'm looking forward to this celebration, and I'm crossing fingers that this will happen. Because for me, knowing that I have a very strong inner circle of friends keeps me going. I have people from all over the world, and I really hope that this year we will have the chance to come together and celebrate, to see each other after a long time. So for me, the environment, the friendships and the relationships I have are the utmost important thing if I think about my happiness and if I think about excitement of life. So to which extent can you control your happiness? For me, as a former management consultant, I could never really fully control the projects that I work on. I could only control what I make of it. Not all the projects you work on will be exciting. Not all the people you work with will be lovable. But in the end, you choose on what you focus on. I always tried to find people, tasks, or even rituals that I could enjoy. I want to give you an example of my last project at work. I had to do a project in a different time zone, in fact 9 hours away from my own time zone. I also had to do a project that nobody wanted to do internally. That's in the end why management consultants are hired. I was in an environment where nobody was happy, nobody wanted to push forward a project, and yet I always found the focus on the things that I liked. I found a few people that were fun to work with. I found activities that would move the project forward, but that would also excite us. And sometimes we would just get excited about having a small personal talk after all the tasks that we've completed for the day. For me, you can control the actions and emotions of exactly one person, and that's yourself. You can be happy and excited about what you have, and you can change if this is not the case. You can set reasonable goals for yourself and achieve them, or you can choose to set goals that are not achievable at all and get frustrated about such. So for me, you should really focus on what you can control. Everything else is waste of time. And you should also focus on what's there already. You will be surprised what just another mindset can do in that regard. You can look at what you already have and be grateful for it. If it's not enough, if you want to change something, go out and do it. Go and improve your situation. Go and improve by actions. And most important, try to be present. If you worry too much about the future or think about past achievements, this will hinder you from enjoying this very moment. And in the end, this very moment is the only thing that we can actually experience and live. A lot of people mortgage their present life for future happiness. To me, this is something that doesn't work. Even if you make it to the desired state, you will most likely not know how to be happy because you never learned it in the present moment. If you arrive somewhere, you will strive for more. You will not allow yourself to enjoy the moment, and you will not allow yourself to be present if you've never learned to do so. So how do you know if you are happy and excited? I believe most of us know fairly well. We just have to be honest with ourselves and listen and trust ourselves. What also helps for me is journaling. I do that daily, weekly, and quarterly. I keep a daily grateful journal together with my girlfriend. Every day in the evening before going to bed, we write down what we are grateful for during this day. What happened that made us happy? What happened that excited us? And what happened that we would like to do again? I keep a journal on my learnings on a weekly basis. What is it that I would like to improve on? What is it that I have learned throughout the last 7 days? I also have a quarterly reflection routine. Every 3 months, I look at the highlights, I look at my learnings, and I understand if what I'm doing is playing into my goals, into my vision, and determine what is the next steps and the actions going forward. For me, taking risks and being adventurous makes me happy. This keeps me excited, and I know that I don't want to settle for less. If I want to change something, I must do so myself. Nobody else will do it for me. And again, start allowing yourself to be happy and to be excited again. Take time for activities with your loved ones and take time for activities that excite you, that truly excite you. Be honest with yourself. That was a lot of talking about happiness from myself. I hope that you learned from it, and yet I would also like to learn from you. Before we go, I have a few questions that I would like to ask you on happiness. First, what is your personal definition of happiness? Are you making time to spend with the ones you care about in life? What have you done today or maybe this week that excites you? And when will you do it again? What are the 3 happiest moments in your life? and whom did you experience them with? I also have an activity for you guys, and I would love to hear some feedback on how it went. I heard about it recently, and it's certainly something I want to try myself. It's fairly easy. Basically, you want to cold call 3 friends. That's it. Today we are so connected and everybody's prepared for phone calls and for meeting, everything is scheduled, that we forget how exciting it can be to receive a phone call from a loved one or from a person we care about that we are not expecting. So I encourage you to take your phone and to think about 3 people that could be happy, that could get excited about a spontaneous call from you. Just call them up and see how it goes. And please feel free to share your moments and your experience. And with that, I want to thank you for staying until the very end of the podcast on happiness and excitement of the Just Another Mindset podcast. If you enjoy this podcast and learned from it, please make sure to share this episode with a friend or 2, and make sure to subscribe to Spotify and Apple. On Apple, you may leave up to a 5-star review and know that by doing so, you support me in creating more meaningful content like this. If there's a future guest or topic that you would like to hear more about on the Just Another Mindset podcast, please get in touch and send me a direct message, either via Instagram or via mail to contact@ishmaelwondergarten.com. And if nobody told you lately, be reminded that you are worthy, you matter, and you can achieve anything you want.
Do more of what makes you happy.
Be yourself positive.
Change.
Just another mindset.